You've probably taken a personality quiz at least once and landed on introvert or extrovert, but then someone told you about ambivert, and suddenly, nothing made sense anymore. Whether you're someone who loves being surrounded by people or someone who needs alone time just to function, in this video, we'll break down the real differences between these three personality types, backed by science, and easy to actually understand. Introvert and extrovert were first introduced by psychologist Carl Jung in the 1920s to describe where people get their mental energy from. Ambivert came later, coined by researcher Kimball Young in 1927, but only became widely popular in recent years as people realized that most of us don't fully fit either extreme. Together, these three types form a spectrum, not three separate boxes, which is why so many people feel like they belong to more than one. The clearest difference between the three is how they recharge. Introverts recharge by spending time alone. Social interactions, even enjoyable ones, drain their energy over time. Extroverts recharge through social interaction. Being alone for too long actually makes them feel flat and unmotivated. Ambiverts sit in the middle. They can recharge both ways, depending on the situation, but they also burn out if they get too much of either. This difference isn't about shyness or confidence. It's purely about energy, where it comes from and where it goes. Introverts tend to prefer deep one-on-one conversations over large group settings. They think before they speak and often feel drained after long social events, even if they enjoyed them. Extroverts tend to think out loud, enjoy meeting new people, and feel energized in busy social environments. Silence or isolation can feel uncomfortable to them. Ambiverts are flexible. They can hold a deep conversation like an introvert and work a room like an extrovert, but their comfort level shifts based on mood, context, and who they're with. Research from the University of Georgia found that ambiverts make the best salespeople, not because they're the most outgoing, but because they know when to talk and when to listen. Introverts are typically internal processors. They reflect deeply before making decisions and often prefer writing over speaking to express complex thoughts. Extroverts are external processors. They figure things out by talking through them, brainstorming out loud, bouncing ideas off others. Ambiverts switch between both modes. They can reflect quietly, but also benefit from talking things through, which makes them adaptable in both solo work and team settings. Under stress, introverts tend to withdraw. They need more alone time than usual and may go quiet even with people they're close to. Under stress, extroverts tend to seek distraction. They reach out to friends, look for social activity, or find it hard to sit with their thoughts. Ambiverts under stress can go either way, sometimes craving company, sometimes needing to disappear. This unpredictability can confuse the people around them and sometimes themselves. None of these stress responses is wrong. They're just different operating systems responding to the same pressure. Introverts tend to thrive in environments that allow focused, independent work. They produce their best thinking when given time and space, which is why many successful writers, researchers, and programmers identify as introverts. Extroverts tend to excel in roles that involve collaboration, networking, and communication. They bring energy to teams and often take initiative in group settings. Ambiverts have a natural advantage in the modern workplace because they can adapt. They perform well in meetings and solo work equally, making them effective in leadership roles that require both. A study by Adam Grant at Wharton found that ambiverts generated 24% more revenue than pure introverts or extroverts in a sales environment. In romantic relationships, introverts tend to be deeply loyal and attentive partners. They prefer quality time over quantity. One meaningful evening together beats a week of surface-level interaction. Extroverts tend to be expressive and affectionate. They show love through words, physical presence, and shared activities, but they may struggle if their partner needs more alone time than they do. Ambiverts are often described as the most adaptable partners. They can match an introvert's need for depth and an extrovert's need for connection. But they also need a partner who understands their shifting social needs. Introverts often prefer consuming content over creating it publicly. They're more likely to lurk, observe, and engage in private messages rather than post publicly. Extroverts tend to post more frequently, share openly, and use social media as a genuine social tool, not just entertainment. Ambiverts are inconsistent online. They go through phases of posting constantly, then disappearing for weeks, which confuses their followers but makes perfect sense to them. Interestingly, a 2019 study found that introverts spend more time on social media than extroverts, not because they're more social, but because it gives them social connection without the energy cost of in-person interaction. Introverts tend to prefer structured, predictable routines. Unexpected plans or last-minute social invitations can feel genuinely disruptive, not because they're antisocial, but because their energy is already allocated. Extroverts tend to be more spontaneous. They enjoy surprises, last-minute hangouts, and variety in their daily schedule. Rigid routines can feel suffocating to them. Ambiverts need a balance of both. A structured week with room for spontaneity works best. Too much routine feels boring. Too much chaos feels overwhelming. This is why the same weekend can feel amazing to an extrovert and exhausting to an introvert, even if they did exactly the same things. Introverts tend to learn best independently. They process new information deeply, prefer reading or watching over group discussion, and retain knowledge better after quiet reflection. Extroverts tend to learn best through discussion, debate, and collaboration. Group projects and verbal explanation help them absorb and retain information more effectively. Ambiverts adapt their learning style to the subject. Complex or personal topics. They prefer solo study. Abstract or creative topics. They benefit from talking it through. According to research, roughly 30 to 50% of the population leans introverted. Around 50 to 74% of people in Western countries identify as extroverted, though this varies significantly by culture. And studies suggest that up to 68% of people may actually fall into the ambivert range, meaning the majority of us are somewhere in the middle, even if we don't realize it. So, introvert, extrovert, or ambivert? The honest answer is, you're probably more fluid than any label suggests. Personality isn't a fixed box. It's a spectrum that shifts with context, age, and experience. What matters isn't which category you belong to. It's understanding how you work so you can design a life that actually fits you. If this video made you rethink your personality type, drop it in the comments. And if you want to go deeper, the next video covers the signs you might actually be an ambivert without knowing it. See you there.